What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. So, my YouTube channel is still kind of growing. So I thought about maybe trying to turn it into a comedy channel. So I thought I'd just try out one of my first jokes here. So, get ready. Alright. Armando Villarreal! That's the referee. He's a joke. That's where I'm going with. Anyway, yeah, let's start off talking about the worst part of this game. Armando Villarreal, center referee, an idiot. I mean, I don't know what it is about these Hispanic referees. Ricardo Salazar, terrible red card to Brandon Vasquez. Armando Villarreal, absolutely the worst game, most one-sided game I've ever seen called against us. It was awful. I mean, first of all, let's talk about the red card that was given. Not a red card. I've seen so many people. I've gone on Twitter. I've tried to see, all right, what's the general reception of that? Most people are like, oh yeah, it's a red card. And obviously they're talking about the red cards that weren't given more than this one. But no, this was not a red card either. Because here's the thing. They're saying it was denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. It's not. The guy's touch takes him wide. Is it a foul? Absolutely. But if he doesn't get him, he's going wide. Perez is now cutting in. He's cutting off the angle. Michael is coming in far side. It's not a red card. There's not an obvious goal-scoring opportunity there. It's just, it's a foul. It's a yellow card probably because it's a dangerous play right outside the box. I'd be fine with a yellow. You know, it was a foul. I do agree with that. But no, you can't give him a straight red for that. Because that is not an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. When the guy is already off to the side, you know, here's the corner of the box. The guy was right here, already going wide of the box almost. And even watching, you know, his first touch takes it away from Renish, but then his second touch only happens because his leg was like all the way out there because he's flying through the air. He was not getting to that second touch anyway. And if he did, he probably wasn't going to be going towards the goal. He was going away from it. So anybody who has the knowledge of the game, who knows what an obvious goal-scoring opportunity means, would know that's not a red card. Now let's talk about the red cards that weren't given. First of all, you've got an elbow to the side of Perez's head. I mean, I'm watching the replay. I didn't even get to see it live. We were late to the game. I didn't get to see it. Watching the replay in slow motion, you can see after his elbow hits his head, there's even more of a swinging motion afterwards, after Perez is already going down from the contact. How is that not a red? You see Villalba running in behind. The guy goes in at his knee, and it's just a yellow. The ball's gone. That's already a yellow card offense in and of itself, but then you go in high on him. That's worthy of a red. The worst one of all, the keeper grabs the ball, and Tito's coming at him trying to win the ball. He's sort of pulling up. The keeper ducks his head down and straight up headbutts him in the chest, and it's a foul on Tito. And then Yamil gets booked because he's standing in front of the free kick about to be taken. The keeper headbutted him in the chest. Somewhere in the world, Zinedine Zidane has to be like sitting there in his bed like, shivering because somebody just got away with a headbutt. You know, like, what is going on? How can you not see that? This is after you've already red carded our goalkeeper, and you're going to let their goalkeeper headbutt our striker and then give a foul against our striker. And the keeper's not going anywhere. He's not pulling up. He's running straight out of the box to run his head straight into Tito's chest. Where's the VAR? That's my question. The VAR apparently sees Kyle's foul as enough reason for him to go and review it and then give him a red later. But for some reason, all of these other challenges not worthy of a red. It's ridiculous. And the VAR is a joke because of it. You know, I've already talked about the VAR in a couple of the games, but this game particularly is going to ruin VAR. Now, maybe they'll keep it for just goals, you know, if it's offside or maybe mistaken identity. But in my opinion, this whole straight red thing has gotten out of hand. Because you look at Brandon's red card that he got against LA, not a red card. VAR screwed up there. And now you're looking at Kyle's, that's not a red card. And you missed all these other red cards throughout the entire game. It's ridiculous. And it's very one-sided. We did very well to fight back into the game. But that in particular, all these mistakes from the referee, frustrating. Frustrating as hell. And it pisses me off because guess what? We can't do anything about it. The MLS refs are not getting better. They're getting worse. What are we supposed to do about it? If a referee is going to miss all these calls but then give us terrible calls, what are you supposed to do about it? You play your hardest, but in the end, you're down a man. You work, you fight back hard, you go to win, but you're down a man. So let's talk about what went wrong for us tonight outside of the referees. The real mistake, I think, overall from us has to be not playing Jeff. I don't know where the thinking is behind that. I get that they played a lot of games in a row. I understand that. But you can't rest Jeff in this game. I'm sorry. You can't rest Jeff. Period. Like, Michael you can get away with because Jeff is almost like a secondary defender at this point. They can take his place. You can rest Perez because, he's a very good defender. He's very athletic. But you've got players that are more disciplined that can be back there. You can rest your fullbacks because you've got some backup there. You can rest your attacking players because we do have some decent attacking players that can take their spots. But you can't rest Jeff. That's taking out the heart of your midfield. That's the problem. That is a serious problem. And so late on in the game, whenever you need somebody to be more defensive and you bring him in, he's not going to come in and influence the game. He's not going to come off the bench to influence it. So, big mistake there not starting him. But everything else, there's not much else you can do there. That is the one thing that I think if they had started Jeff, pushed Tito up top, because why not do that? In the games when we didn't have Joseph beginning of the season, what worked best? Tito up top. Why didn't we do that tonight? But yeah, so take Kenwin off, Tito up top, Julian goes out to the right, Kratz is the center man, and then Jeff's in behind. That's how you win the game. That is how you dominate the game. But for some reason we didn't do that. For some reason we wanted to switch around everything. Making one or two changes is fine. Making that third or fourth change, that's a problem. As far as individual performances go, though, Kyle Rainish in goal, he's not a bad game from him. I will say, very unlucky on the red card. I know what he's trying to do. I think he did a very good job of forcing him wide. Probably didn't need to go in full force. Maybe just slide in, make him either go over you or have to flop to the ground to get a call. But to go in full force like that, maybe a little bit crazy and hectic. Defensively, up until the end looked pretty good. But, that a lot of that has to do with the fact that we were down a man. And it gets hard to do that for, what was it, like 30 minutes we were down a man? I mean, that's difficult to defend against. So, Chris started off the game. I didn't get to see. He was actually coming off the field as I'm walking into the stadium. So I didn't get to see much of his game, but I assume it was another typical Chris performance on the left side. Not very good defensively, but pretty good with his balls in. Perez and Michael held down the back line pretty well for the most part. Didn't see anything wrong with their performances overall. They did most of what they could do. They just weren't helped out by the midfield for the most part. And then Tyrone makes a return to the starting 11 in this game. A little bit disappointed with his defensive work again. I think that's where Anton has shown he's a better right back because he's better defensively. But Tyrone whipped in a few good crosses, so you could tell that's why he was out there. I guess the plan tonight was just hoping that we could whip it into Kenwin and hope he could get his head on it. So I guess that's why he started, but watching him defensively, it's very obvious why Anton has taken over the spot from him. Carlos and Kevin were the two holding midfielders. Both of them played well. I still think Jeff would have been a better option there just because he's a better defensive player. But Carlos, he's the one that sort of dropped in to be that more defensive midfielder. He's just too reckless to be that. He gets pulled out of position. He's not very he's not very disciplined when it comes to the defensive work. He's more likely to go sliding in than he is to stand somebody up. Um, Kevin is a hard worker, very good on the ball, and does a very good job of holding up the play. Much more disciplined with his defending. I will say, by the end of the game, you could see where the fact that we haven't been playing Kevin a whole lot. He's been coming in, making a couple substitute appearances, but before that, it's been like the past, I think, 3 or 4 games that he's coming as a sub. Before that, he wasn't featuring at all. This game showed why that's a problem, because when it came down to the last about 15 minutes, he was starting to fade. And that's where, also Chris going out with an injury and Kyle having to use your second sub as a keeper, that's where your problems start to show up, because Kevin, he can't go 90 minutes. At the pace he goes, at the work rate he puts in, he can't go full 90 minutes. And so both of their second and third goals on him. The first one, cross comes in off the corner. He loses track of his man and doesn't even make an attempt to track him. And so that guy flicks it onto the back post where somebody's running in. And then the third goal commits a kind of a lazy foul at midfield where they just pick it up and instantly go. So, yeah, a bit disappointing to see that he faded off near the end, but it's kind of understandable because he hasn't really featured for the team at all. Up to the three and behind the striker, Yamil. I don't really know exactly where Tito and Julian were playing. Most of the time, it looked like Julian was out on the right, but then there were some times where it looked like they switched. I don't know what the thought process is there. Honestly, where we looked our best was when Julian was out on the right, because I've said this before, that's his best position. He's not very good in the middle because he's not quick enough to play that. And that's what it felt like they were doing for most of the first half. And even before Kenwin had to come off because of the red card, that's what it looked like they were doing, was Julian inside. And so whenever Tito had to move up top and Julian moved out to the right, that's where we started looking more dangerous. And all I can think is, why didn't we do this sooner? So, yeah, I don't know. Yamil, typical hardworking player that he is, just a little bit disappointing at times just because it feels like he's trying to do too much on the ball. And I do appreciate his hard work, but I wish he'd be a little bit more calm and composed. Tito, very hard worker as well, but when we needed him the most was when we went up a goal. We needed him to be much more focused defensively, helping back with his speed, his quickness to nip in and poke the ball away, but instead he was focused on getting another goal. And that's where they started to overwhelm us with numbers, and we didn't have it because he was not helping out defensively at all. So I was a little bit disappointed there. Julian, did well to get us back into the game after giving away the first goal. Just terrible giveaway in the midfield, and then they just lay it into the guy who drives in and has a great shot. So good to see that he gets an assist and then scores as well to get us back into the game to make up for that mistake. And honestly, good decision to take him off as well because he doesn't really help us defensively. He helps us on the counterattack sometimes if there's a lot of space, but we needed more defensive structure, and so he was the one to take off. But yeah, I'll say, even though, once again, he's not really a player that I like watching because he does make a lot of mistakes, the production rate from him is very good. And so I think that's where, I sort of have to put my opinions aside for a second because he does produce for the most part. Kenwin, on the other hand, didn't do a thing. So I'm still wondering why we didn't go with Tito up top. It's worked in the past. I don't know why we didn't try it tonight. But Kenwin pretty much confirmed that this is going to be probably his last game for us. It just doesn't fit into our system and doesn't do enough to warrant a place in the team. So, yeah, very disappointed from him tonight. As far as the subs that came in, Mikey Ambrose came in the first half for Chris. I don't know why he's not playing more based on what I saw. Very good touch, pretty good defensively, sends in a fairly decent cross most of the time. I don't know. I didn't see anything that made me think, oh yeah, Chris definitely deserves to be starting over him. In my opinion, I thought he opened up a lot of space on that left side. So, I don't know. He is a bit smaller, so he doesn't help us in the air, where I guess Chris does that. But aside from that, I thought overall he looked very good, very solid defensively, and going down the line as well. So I was impressed when I saw him when we faced Charleston earlier in the season, and I was impressed again tonight. So I'm hoping maybe he's impressed Martino enough to give him a bit more of a chance because he is a younger player who's playing very well so far. So second sub, Tambakis came in. I didn't really get to see the goals very well, but from what I saw, you could see it's our fourth string keeper. You're not going to expect a whole lot of them, and they did seem like if we had a better keeper in, probably would have been some saves made. So, I'm not going to throw a lot of expectations on him because this is the first time we've seen him all season. So I'm just say disappointed just that he's having to be put in at all. That shouldn't be happening. I blame that on the referee. And the last sub, like I said, Jeff comes in last. Brought him in to be more defensive, and that's what I was hoping would happen. But like I said, you can't bring him off the bench with like 10 minutes left and then hope that he's going to come in fully ready to play. He did do a pretty good job for the most part, but by the time he came on, it was just constant pressure, and they were just flooding numbers forward, and it was just too much for everybody back there to handle. So disappointed, frustrated overall, but we're still in the playoffs. There is that. We've still likely got the third place locked down. We just have to make sure, we slipped up against New England. Now we've slipped up against Minnesota. Hopefully, last two games, no slip-ups. Going to New York, come away with a draw. Home against Toronto, come away with a draw. At this point, I'll take it. I was 2 games ago, you'd asked me, I said, oh, we're going to win out. But now the past 2 games have shown we are vulnerable. We don't have a killer's mindset anymore. It's like we lose Almiron, we lose Martinez, we lose Guzan, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh no, guys, we're not the same team anymore. Even though we have enough quality to back that up. But it's like that. It's that mindset comes in of, oh no, we have excuses to make now. And now those excuses pile over into the game, and now we put in performances that aren't worthy of what we've seen this entire season. And that's frustrating. I think we deserve better than this. As fans coming in to support a team, we deserve a team that's going to go out there. It doesn't matter who the personnel is. They're going to go out there and they're going to put in 100%, no matter the circumstances. And we got that after, we scored 2 goals. We got that. But then after that, we should have seen more of a response after. We should have seen more of a desire to want to defend, to hold on to that lead. And instead what we saw was players that were just kind of like, this is getting hard, this is getting tiring, I just don't know anymore. I don't know. It seems like the fighting spirit that we've seen throughout most of this run of unbeaten streak it was gone the past 2 games. Even though we didn't lose against New England, we didn't see that same fighting desire that we've seen before. So, I don't know. We got 2 more games left before playoffs happen. New York away, Toronto at home, both going to be difficult games. And based on what I've seen the past 2, I'm not going in with a lot of hope anymore. And that's frustrating to say. We're going into playoffs looking like we could end on a winless streak. You wouldn't have said that. 3 or 4 games ago, you wouldn't have said that. So hopefully Martino can figure out something. Hopefully the team can get together and say, look, guys, this isn't good enough. We need to work together. Through the adversity, through the injuries, it doesn't matter. We've got to work together as a team. We've got to come through and prove that we're not what we've seen the past few games. So that's it from me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Who is the man of the match? The referees, do you know where they live? So we can go find them and kick their asses together. Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe. Future Landing Night reviews. I'll see you guys in the next game. Peace out.